Good evening. Tonight, a crime of special significance in the wake of the Snowdrop campaign and the handgun debate. The murder in Kent of an elderly gun club enthusiast with the theft of his collection of firearms. An outrage that's caused a blaze of publicity in Scotland, the killing of Caroline Glachan, the schoolgirl from Bonhill near Dumbarton. And in Lincolnshire, the hunt for the vagrant seen loitering around a village before the rape and death of grandmother Vera Laver. And, as you can see, Aladdin's Cave.
In all the controversy after Dunblane over the control of handguns, Kenneth Speakman would have been one of those opposed to any outright ban. He'd held a firearms licence for half a century. He was a prominent member of local pistol and rifle clubs, and even at the age of 84 he was a good shot and an active sportsman. Ironically, he was murdered for his guns on the very night that Parliament was debating firearms curbs. Mr. Speakman had been the official solicitor for the town of Ramsgate in Kent, and he lived on his own in the town since his wife had a stroke and was confined to a nursing home. He'd been to visit her the day he died. Now, these are almost identical to the weapons that were stolen. And this is the man who's tracking down his killer, Detective Superintendent Nick Biddis. And Mr. Biddis, to be honest, in this case, there is very, very little for you to go on. How can people help?
You see the array of guns here this evening. These represent a selection of guns that would have been stolen, exactly the same as was stolen from Ken Speakman.
Except a great number more than these were taken.
12 were taken, and Ken Speakman was killed for those guns. I don't want anybody killed with them. I want them back. And what I'm appealing for tonight is anyone who's got any knowledge, either about the murder or possession of these guns. Someone, I believe, has seen someone in possession of these guns, probably after the murder, not even associated with the murder, but knows where they are. And I want them to give us a call.
The fact that people haven't gone for replicas, but for real weapons, does suggest that they're prepared to use them.
I believe someone could kill with these guns or seriously injure someone.
Now, this visiting card, purportedly from Andrew Morgan, tell me what the significance is of that.
This is a solicitor's business card that purports to come from Boys and Morn Solicitors in Margate.
That's a real firm of solicitors?
They are a real firm of solicitors. They're not involved with this, and obviously they've cooperated with our inquiries, and it's in everybody's interest we try and find the person who had such a card. And Andrew Morgan does not exist.
He visited Mr. Speakman there before he died.
Right,
you know
the week
that?
before Ken Speakman was killed, he had a visitor who said that he was Andrew Morgan working for Boys and Morn. There was a discussion about him, that is Ken Speakman, being a president of a gun club. Clearly that person doesn't exist, and we need to try and find the person, Andrew Morgan, somebody who may have had one of those cards given to them prior to this offence. We'd like that person to come forward as well.
So if you know anything about the card, please don't tell us where they're printed. We know that these can be done on automatic machines, all sorts of places, unless you know about this particular card with this name on it. Any way that you can help, if you know anything about these guns, 0500 600 600. There are 40 free call phones here, with detectives waiting now, 0500 600 600. And there are more detectives on the case at an incident room in Kent on 01227 817 028. That's Canterbury, 817 028.
Our first reconstruction this month is one of those cases that seems to unite people in grief. Caroline Glachan was the typical girl next door, typical that is for a 14-year-old in Bonhill, just north of Glasgow. That meant on a Saturday night in the summer holidays, sometimes staying out until the early hours. But on the night of Saturday, the 24th of August, something went dreadfully wrong.
Cecilia, you're breaking my heart, you're shaking my confidence daily. Oh, Cecilia.
Caroline was 14 and she thought she was quite grown up, but she still had a lot of childlike ways. The other side, she was the teenager with the clothes and music and the makeup.
Someone's taking my place. Cecilia, you're breaking my...
She was an affectionate child. She always kissed and cuddled before she went to bed, before she went out. She never failed. She even did it with her grandparents. Caroline, she was unique. She was unique to me.
Caroline's hometown, Bonhill, is separated from Renton by the River Leven that flows on to Dumbarton. On Saturday, August the 24th, Caroline spent the afternoon visiting friends on both sides of the Leven, and shortly after 9 that evening she took her normal route home along the river.
Mum!
Are you wearing my earrings again?
I'm just borrowing them, honey.
Honey, me. You know you're not allowed to take things without asking.
You never wear them anyway.
Caroline's mother was going out that evening, heading off with her fiancé to celebrate her 40th birthday.
Mind your time.
Aye.
No, listen to me. You mind your time, lady. I don't want you staying out all night. Do you hear me?
Aye. Is that my keys?
Aye.
Right. Have a nice time. Mwah. Enjoy your birthday dinner.
Aye. Bye.
Bye.
Caroline met up with one of her friends, and together they spent the next couple of hours drifting round and meeting pals. At 10 to midnight, they left a friend's flat and started walking once again.
Caroline was one of my closest friends. She made me laugh, and that evening we were just going to visit some friends.
Do you want to stay at my house tonight, Mum? Was about? It's their birthday.
Aye, whatever.
Right, well, I'm going to see my pals. Do you want to come with me?
No, I just want to stay and watch a video.
Right, then. You take my keys. I'll just go myself. Hey, yous, come here. Hey, yous, come here.
This is a few hundred yards away at about the same time. Who was on that scrambler bike? He's an important witness because he was on the towpath that Caroline was heading for.
You can watch a video when I get back.
What videos have you got?
There's hundreds of them. Just keep Joanne company. I'll be back about 2.
Aye, no bother.
Right, will you do that, Watty? Right, my way, see you later. See you later.
So, not keen on watching the video, Caroline now took to the towpath across town to find her other friends. This taxi had just picked up a shift worker from a warehouse beside the river.
I know her. Wonder what she's doing down here at this time of the night.
The man was about 20 to 25 years old, about 5'4" to 5'6", average build. He had sideburns, sharp features and was clean shaven. The jacket seemed to be a green colour and the hood had a light lining.
Caroline was due back at 2 o'clock, but I was that tired I just fell asleep before she was due in.
This man lives a couple of hundred yards from the river.
I was asleep and just heard these 2 screams, loud. I jumped out of my bed and I looked towards the water side. There wasn't a soul or a movement. I went back to my bed and on and off, thinking what could have happened.
Caroline's body was in the water. She had been violently attacked and by now had been dead for some hours. She was 14.5 years old.
Dear Mrs. Glachan, it's very difficult to find the words right now, but I wanted to let you know how deeply sorry I am about Caroline. She was a very special wee girl and we were all very fond of her. She used to visit us regularly and would just sit for a chat. We always ended up laughing. She took a genuine interest in people and we got to know Caroline more than most because of her personality. I miss her terribly and will never forget her. Our prayers and thoughts are with you.
She was my life. She was everything. I always felt she was a gift. And it was, you'll not get any more special gift than what she was to me.
Obviously a very popular and much loved young girl. Jeanette Joyce, you have an artist impression, as we saw on the film, of a man seen following Caroline, but you also have a likeness of someone you'd like to come forward as well, haven't you?
Yes, tonight we're releasing an e-fit of a man who we believe regularly walks his dog in Dillyship Park in Old Bonhill. Now, we believe he's had some amount of contact, a small amount of contact with Caroline, and although he hasn't been seen for some months, we'd still like him to come forward so we can eliminate him from the inquiry. And he's described as 35 years of age, stocky built. He is tanned skinned, a ruddy complexion, has dark hair, a dark moustache, and wears black clothing, and including a black baseball cap.
Now, witness is obviously very important at that time of night. The Vale of Leven Academy is quite close to where she was attacked, isn't it?
Yes, the Vale of Leven Academy and the grounds of the academy overlook the part of the towpath where Caroline was attacked. Now, about midnight, we know that 2 people left the grounds of the academy. One is a female, and we would ask them to come forward. If they're listening to this programme tonight and recognise themselves, please telephone us now.
Could there be many other people on the towpath at that time of night?
Well, I believe because the towpath is so dark, Caroline's attacker knew the area and was comfortable there. I would appeal for fishermen who use the towpath, including poachers, to contact us without delay. And I would just send a message to the poachers: I'm not interested in why you were down there, but what you saw and what you heard could be vital to the inquiry. And I would really remind the public in general that we're approaching Christmas, and Caroline's mum and dad have lost a much-loved daughter, in fact, their only child.
Jeanette Joyce, thank you very much. We're all with you on that. There is also a substantial reward in this case as well. Here is the number, 0500 600 600. There are BBC researchers here along with the detectives. That's 0500 600 600. And there are more investigating officers waiting now in Dumbarton. The number there, if you prefer to call, is 01389 822 000. That's Dumbarton, 822 000. And now to a remarkable piece of video. Here's Superintendent David Hatcher.
First, a story of bravery and good security systems at a jeweller's in Southall, west of London. For a start, the camera is good. It's well sighted, and we've a good view of these 3 young men, all Asian, all about 18 to 20, and ranging from around 6 foot down to 5'6". The tall one with glasses at the front engages one of the shopkeepers. While the staff are distracted, the man in the feeler jumper has just reached over a cabinet at the side and grabbed a tray of rings. The small man stuffs it up his leather jacket, and they all seem to think it's quite a hoot. Until, that is, they find the alarm's gone off and the front door has been locked. They dump the tray of rings, eventually wrench the door open, and undeterred, the feeler man comes back for the jewellery, but the outraged owner chases him away. Who are they? Call us if you think you know them, 0500 600 600, or you can call the burglary squad in Southall on 0181 574 1212. That's 0181 574 1212.
Now, last month we had a lot of calls and there's been a fair bit of progress, but so far only a single arrest. One woman was recognised by a viewer and has been questioned in connection with some frauds. But with more rewarding news on cases from earlier programmes. You may recall a reconstruction of attacks at Barry in South Glamorgan. Elderly women in a residential close were visited by an apparently charming young man who then bludgeoned them. A Crimewatch viewer, an off-duty police officer as it happens from Worcestershire, identified the man. The reasons for the offender's savagery remain unclear, but he's been sentenced to 4 terms of life imprisonment. And an arrest, this time unconnected with Crimewatch, but it's a case you may well recall. We first reconstructed it 18 months ago. A man from Bridlington has been charged with the murder of Mrs. Margaret Wilson. She was attacked, apparently for no reason, on a country lane in Humberside, while tractor crews looked on in amazement and horror from a nearby field. We'll be able to say more after the trial.
Another robbery in Surrey that resembled a special forces military assault. Now, we rarely use the terms professional on Crimewatch because there's nothing to be admired about hurting or intimidating people. But this raid was rigorously planned and carefully executed. The gang used techniques that we're obviously not showing in our reconstruction because we don't want to provoke copycat offences. This time, people were traumatised, but no one was physically injured. Even so, live ammunition was recovered from the scene. So this is a gang that was plainly prepared to kill.
Yeah, it's all right, isn't it? It's a good one. Interested?
He wasn't the type of character you'd expect to come and buy a trap, or even be in the skip game.
What are you asking for it? I've already a $3,000 offer. 2,750? No,
He didn't really come across in his dress. He was dressed too well. He was around about 45, stocky build, about 5'10" height, something like that.
The man was happy to pay cash.
When he came into the office, he didn't seem to want to make conversation at all.
Yeah, OK, thanks.
So he gave me the money, and I counted it. The strange thing I noticed was it was all in different denominations, all mixed up in bundles of 100.
He gave a false company name and went off with his skip truck. Three weeks later, mid-October, at the Albany Park estate in Frimley, Surrey.
I was taking some stuff out of my van and I saw this bloke in front of this building. I was aware that this building was used by security lorries to go in and out of it. And he was taking some photographs, and that seemed just a little bit unusual to me. Well, he got into the passenger side of the car and I was surprised to hear the engine start and the car move off. So I assume it must have been a left-hand drive.
From Surrey to Middlesex 1 week later.
I was out with a colleague in a marked police car. We were having a drive around the local area, and the central trading estate is being demolished at the moment. There's lots of building contractors and units are very insecure. So we took a drive into Mustard Mill Road. As you're coming on the left-hand side, there are normally lorries parked, and this one in particular was the skip lorry, caught my attention.
It's nice and new and shiny, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks freshly painted, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
A bit unusual for an A-Reg.
Yeah, Tango Golf receiving 184. Can I have a car check, please? It's an unattended vehicle.
I did a check. This told me that the colour was different. It came back as being a blue one, when in fact it was yellow and white.
Yeah, thank you.
It also told me that it had no road tax or an operator's licence. It appeared suspicious. It shouldn't have been there. But it was called away, so off we went, and I intend to come back to it.
Now back to Frimley, much later on that day.
As I left work on the Monday evening, which would have been between about 6 and 6:30 p.m, I noticed, as I was walking to my car, a skip lorry appear from in front of me. It's unusual to see a skip lorry on the estate, and also because the arms, which are normally used to pick up a skip, were in the extended position rather than parked in the way you'd normally expect.
Yeah, there's no tax disc or operator's licence here, John.
Very clean, doesn't it?
Several times during October, the skip lorry was driven between Staines and Frimley. Have you seen this vehicle on its travels, and would you remember its driver? Thursday, the 31st of October, back in Frimley. Just before 9 a.m, a security van entered the estate, making a routine delivery, unaware that it was being trailed.
I was in a bit of a rush, and there was a blue van parked, not in the bays, but actually on the road, and I found it difficult to get past him because there's a lot of oncoming traffic. I was really annoyed simply because I was running late for work. As I went past him, I turned round and looked and gave him a glare, He had a round face, smooth complexion, dark hair and dark eyes. He appeared to me to be thick-set, quite youthful looking.
For security reasons, we can't now show details of what followed, but the skip lorry was used to block the only entrance to the estate while the rest of the gang got into the building.
Right, you! Down!
There was a lot of money there, most of which was foreign currency. The gang may have difficulties disposing of it.
Thank you for calling TNT. How may I help you? Hello, Mike. How are you? Yeah, I should be there soon. Yeah, I've just finished here. And I should be along soon. What? Mike, there's something going on here. There's two blokes gone by in the van. Balaclavas on. M330XWU. Get that down. I'll ring you back later.
The robbers escaped across a railway line and into a red Toyota van on the A331 Blackwater Relief Road. It was later found abandoned on the nearby Farnborough Retail Park. Police believe at least one other vehicle was involved. Did you see the gang make their final escape? Dave Cook, this robbery took just 39 seconds to commit. They knew what they were doing and they were highly dangerous, weren't they?
They certainly were. It should be emphasised that these guns were real and have killed. There's a substantial 5-figure reward for information, which we hope will encourage people to come forward and name these people.
So what do we know about the gang so far?
There's at least 4 men. We believe that we've got south-east London connections, either at Kent or Essex. We have got a good description of one of the robbers. He was the driver of the blue Nissan van. He's stocky build, with a noticeably round face, clean-shaven, light brown hair with the left parting, dark eyes, possibly brown.
So let's hope that someone can link that description to someone they know. Now, the van he was driving, tell us more about that.
Blue Nissan van. It was stolen in June of this year from Chiswick. We'd like to know where this vehicle was over the last 3 or 4 months. At the time it was stolen, at the index number of N351HRK, but during the course of the robbery it bore the plates M330XWL.
Another description, the man buying the skip lorry.
Yes, again, a good description here. He's about 5'10" in height, approximately 40 years in age, mid-brown collar length hair with several days stubble. He was smart in appearance and he wore a significant dark green checked trilby hat.
Now, the skip lorry was stolen a month before the robbery. Difficult to conceal for a month, isn't it, that sort of thing?
Very difficult. I mean, this vehicle was immaculate, so therefore it was noticeable. It stood out wherever it was.
Now, the Toyota van, the one that they used to make their escape, that again had false number plates, didn't it?
Yes, that was stolen 2 years ago from Newington Causeway in south-east London. At the time it was stolen, there's some significant damage to the vehicle, which has since been repaired. We'd like to know who repaired the damage and where. The index number of the vehicle at the time it was stolen was E25NJD, and during the course of the robbery it was F75RYO.
Thanks very much indeed. And also, all the vehicles were in very good condition, and the police think that they might have all been steam cleaned. So if you remember steam cleaning these vehicles, do get in touch. And there is, as we said, a substantial reward. Here's the number, 0500 600 600. If these men aren't caught, someone is likely to get hurt or even killed. 0500 600 600. That's here, as we say, live to the studio. And the incident room in Camberley is also standing by tonight. You can reach detectives there on 01276 27131. That's Camberley 27131.
Now, an appeal on a series of disturbing attacks which have been going on for about 18 months. They've taken place just north of Doncaster. The victims are all women. There is no apparent motive. But there's a man out there who is plainly demented, and his attacks are getting worse. In his last outing, he almost killed someone. Now, I say he's plainly demented. As you'll see, no rational person would act as he does. But on the evidence of other cases, it's quite likely, if it is someone you know, you might think him quite normal and find it hard to believe he could act as savagely as this. Indeed, because of the savagery and intensity of his violence, there's not much we can reconstruct. This is Addick railway station, on the main line linking Doncaster and Leeds. 17 months ago, on the evening of Friday the 28th of July, a 19-year-old was walking home along Church Lane. The road runs over the railway line by Addick station and on into the village. As the student walked over the footbridge, she heard footsteps behind her, and then a man asked her for the time. As she answered, he battered her repeatedly over the head, perhaps with a mallet. Then, worried by her screams, he ran off. He's probably in his 20s. He has fair to brown hair, slim build and glasses, and the victim said he reminded her of Eddie the Eagle. He may have driven there, and we may even have hazy pictures of him. This is Addick Station car park just below the footbridge. Around 9:37, a car arrived and someone walked towards the platform. But who? And why? No trains were due. And by 9:43, just after the attack, the car had gone. Then, 10 months later, in May this year, and 1.5 miles away in Bentley, in Arthur Avenue. Just after 10 in the evening, a man was seen outside the Jet Cricket Club. Witnesses thought he looked a little bit drunk. About 20 minutes later, a schoolgirl was walking down the avenue towards Arthur Avenue when she caught sight of a man crossing to her side of the road. He was near the Bentley Miners' Welfare Club, known locally as Whispers. Moments later, as the girl went across the road, the man asked her for the time.
When I first saw my daughter after the attack, I couldn't believe it. It was like something out nightmare, really. The cuts, the bruises, the blood everywhere. Nobody would believe the shock I felt that day. My first fear was, would she still have her on sight?
40 minutes after the attack, a similar-looking man was seen hanging around in Arthur Street. Then, 3 months later, again in Bentley.
I was walking down Arksey Lane. I was on my way to work. It was about 6:30 on Sunday morning. Going towards Soper's Corner, I saw this young man who was turning round and shouting, but nobody was there. I carried on walking and turned left onto the avenue. When I reached the end of the houses, there's an alley, and I saw this same man.
Excuse me, have you got time, please? Just gone 25 to.
As I was struggling to get away, I saw him get a metal bar out of his coat. He hit me at back of the head and I fell to the floor. He kept pulling me back to him and hitting me. And all I could think was that he was going to kill me. After the first few blows, I couldn't feel him hitting me, but I could hear it. I could hear him crack on my head when he hit me. And I could feel blood running down my face. I knew that I got to stay conscious because I felt that if he knocked me out, if I was unconscious, that he would kill me.
My concern is that the level of violence used by this man is escalating. He's progressed from using a blunt instrument to a metal bar. I believe he's a local man. He knows the back alleys of Bentley quite well. The avenue itself is a dead end. It leads to some woods and a disused colliery. So the only reason he can be there is he either lives in the area or is visiting someone there. I think someone is trying to shield him, and I urge them that if they do know who he is, to come forward and let us know before any further serious attacks take place.
All the victims got a good look at their attacker. Here are their descriptions. He's in his 20s. He's between 5'8" and 6 foot, but he's slim with a South Yorkshire accent. He has fair to brown hair, though maybe he's dyed it darker at some stage or perhaps was wearing a dark hat or cap. It's possible another very serious attack was caused by the same man. That took place in Ascot 10 days ago. Incidentally, until he's caught, the best defence against him seems to be to scream and fight him off. But better still, we hope to find out who he is tonight. Here's the number, don't hesitate to call, 0500 600 600, or you can call the Instant Room on another free call number, 0500 400 200. That's 0500 400 200. Now, with some more revealing frames from video cameras, here's Superintendent David Hatcher again.
Not security video, but some footage from a home movie camera. This man is called Tony, or at least that was his name at a party in October in Plumstead, south-east London. He's almost certainly from Nigeria, since he mixes with Yoruba speakers and may speak it himself. After the party, a 14-year-old girl was raped. If you know him as Tony, or indeed by any other name, we need to speak to him urgently, so call us straight away on 0500 600 600. That's 0500 600 600. Or you can call the local police station on 0181 284 9414. That's 0181 284 9414. And now some more conventional video. This comes from an off-licence in Southport, Lancashire. The man takes out a stolen credit card, and it's one we suspect he used on a total of 82 occasions. His name is Robert Macaulay. He has a Belfast accent, he's 35, heavily built, and he has connections in Essex and Glasgow. Here he is again. It's the same day, but this time at Garstang in Lancashire. And again, here he is the next day at Standish in Manchester. 0500 600 600 is the number to call, or you can call the local police on 01772 618 973. That's Preston 618 973.
Well, the phones have been busy already on this Kenneth Speakman murder. 2 callers suggesting the name of the man who may be the bogus solicitor. One man suggests he may actually have bought one of the guns that were stolen. Very strong leads on the identity of the people mentioned in the Caroline Glachan murder. Very strong lead also on the Southall robbery. 3 independent callers giving the same names. And the Frimley armed robbery, one name has been put forward, and a witness suggests that they may have seen the van and the skip trucks parked together in Hounslow.
2 months ago, we made a brief appeal about a tragic and unusual crime in Lincolnshire. As a result, detectives have gathered from Crimewatch viewers several more sightings and enough new evidence to turn the case into a reconstruction. It's about Mrs. Vera Laver, who lived in the village of Tetney, just south of Grimsby, and the events you're about to see unfold took place 12 weeks ago. Our scene starts on Thursday, September the 19th.
Mum lived in Tetney about 47 years, and most people knew who my mum was.
Hi, Mum, you okay? I'm fine.
On the Thursday morning, I come round because she'd got this letter from the gas board, and it was worrying her.
Of course not, Mum.
She was a very caring person. She had a very generous nature, and she was a lovely mum, and she liked having all the family around her.
Well, that's sorted out then. What do you want done about this one? Do you want it thrown out? Oh, no. You fill it in if you want to.
I normally go through a mail, and there was this shopping survey. I was going to post it when I left, but I forgot, so it got left on the table.
Dawn the following day, Friday, September the 20th.
I just left home around 5:10. Drove to Tetney, down Station Road. As I approached the junction of the A16, I saw the chap stood on the right-hand side, right back near the hedge. I had a second glance at him as I pulled out, and I thought, I wonder what he's doing at this time of morning, stood there near the hedge. Because he doesn't look, as though he was waiting for a lift.
Who was the man? How did he get there? And did anyone else see him? Tetney, 2 miles away, and 2.5 hours later.
As I reversed out the drive on my way to work, I saw a man walking towards me. He was dressed in dark clothing. He was aged in his 30s to 40s. The main thing I remember about him was the amount of stubble that he had on his face. He seemed very much out of place, not somebody that you would normally see in the village.
Come on, G. There you go. I see you. Come on.
Just around the corner from Vera's house, a neighbour noticed two men. One was rough-looking, the other was smart and walking a dog. Who was he? He could be an important witness. Further down the road, the scruffy man was seen again.
I was just getting dressed and I saw this guy and I thought, I've never seen him before around here. He was about 5'11" to 6 foot tall, of normal to stocky build, rough looking. He had dark wavy hair and he had a bit of stubble on his face, quite a pale complexion. I noticed him again from the reflection across the way. He was walking towards the cutting.
Oh, better go and post these, hadn't I? Now, you can't come this time. You can come a bit later, OK? Good girl.
At about 8:30, a neighbour noticed Vera heading for the cutting, a footpath that led through to the postbox. The cutting is quite a busy thoroughfare between gardens through the village.
Morning.
A villager heard moans, but thought no more about it.
Techni 298394. I went to post the letters down the footpath and I was attacked.
I couldn't believe it. I felt so sorry for my mum to have to go through something like that at her age. I mean, it'd be bad enough for anybody, but, you know, for somebody of my mum's age, you know, I felt shaky for me mum, you know, as if it had happened to me, so, you know.
Hello? We need your help. My mother's been raped.
Half an hour later, on the busy A16 from Louth to Grimsby.
As I was driving towards Talbar roundabout, I spotted a man in dark clothing, heavily dressed for the type of morning it was. He had a black woolly hat on. I thought the jumper could have possibly been navy blue, and his jeans possibly black. He was a thick-set man, tall, and his hair was black, turning grey.
Did you see him that day? That afternoon, Vera came home from hospital and went to run a bath. Within moments, she suffered a major stroke.
To think what she went through in the morning and then to die in the afternoon, you know, we couldn't believe it after all that she'd gone through, and then she died. I mean, we all know she'd still be here now if that hadn't have happened to her in the morning. I always thought she was going to live to be in her 90s. And now it's all been taken away from her.
Martin Bontoft, how good a description was Vera Labour able to give you?
Yes, she was able to give us a description of her attacker, and that was that he was a white male. He was 30 to 40 years old. He was around 6 feet tall, and she described him of a muscular physique. He had several days' growth of stubble on his face, 3 to 4 days' growth of stubble, and she particularly remembered that he had piercing, menacing eyes. He was wearing a black woolen hat, and he had a top or jumper on that was rough to the touch, and dark trousers or jeans.
Now let's take a close-up at that artist's impression, and right. I should say this is what you describe as a composite. Now, what does that mean, and what are the limitations?
Yes, what that means is that is an artist's impression that has been made up from a variety of different witnesses. It is not meant as an exact image of the offender necessarily, or even the person that was seen in that area. It is a rough guide.
Do you think he's done this sort of thing before?
I think that this man will have committed this type of offence in the past, yes.
So there may be women watching who've been frightened by him, have been approached by him, even perhaps raped by him.
Absolutely,
Who you want to call in?
Yes, absolutely.
And you've got DNA evidence, so you can eliminate people very quickly.
Yes, it's made things much simpler now. If we do get any suspects, we simply need to invite them to give us a sample. We can get a DNA profile from that and compare it with the one we've got.
And if you think he's done this before in the past, presumably you're concerned he'll do it again in the future.
I'm very concerned and think that he may try it again, yes.
Whatever help you think you have, do please call 0500 600 600. It's free, and it could stop a repetition. 0500 600 600, or you could try the incident room direct on 01522 532 222. That's Lincoln 532 222.
And now, finally, after an unacceptably long gap, Aladdin's Cave is back on Crimewatch with a treasure trove of recovered property. If you've ever had a burglary, who knows, something here tonight just might be yours. Now, this lot is a small part of the haul from Operation Schwellen, a coordinated campaign by London's Central Crime Squad, but this stuff comes from all around the United Kingdom. And here to take us through it, as ever, is Eric Knowles.
Question, do you recognise this man's face? He's oil on canvas. Probably Dutch. It's quite a clever painting. However, should you prefer your paintings to be of a slightly smaller scale, then you won't do much better than these 5 miniatures. In particular, the central portrait is actually inscribed with a gentleman's name and his town of origin. But look at this. This is a lovely little treasure. A little tortoiseshell and silver box, beautifully inlaid with mother of pearl. I love those two little squirrels. And it's actually inscribed on the inside with the details of a well-known town. In fact, it's Ipswich. I'll tell you as much as that. Would you like 4 Georgian silver salt cells? Well, come Christmas, I'd love them myself. But there they are, silver gilt in scallop shells. They don't come much better than that. Now, there are no prizes for guessing the origin of this particular clock. It is in fact German, complete with twin sconces and the figure of old Father Time himself. But passing the odd canaletto on the way, let's move to 2 great 19th century heroes. First of all, the Iron Duke himself, the Duke of Wellington. There he is, resplendent upon Copenhagen, his trusty steed. And next to him, Gordon of Khartoum, no less. They're both in bronze, and they're both quite weighty. But when it comes to weight, this lady beats them all. This is Chinese rose quartz, and this is the goddess Kuan Yin. This is seriously heavy, so the police are actually looking for a burglar who's obviously got a hernia as a result. But one thing that burglars do like to go for is silver, and the bigger the better. And this is part of a table silver. It's all inscribed. It's actually got the coat of arms and the gentleman's name, the recipient's name. And it stands on quite a nice Georgian wine cooler, brass bound with swing handles. Alas, the base, as is always the case, is much, much later. And finally, 4 locals. They look as though they've just walked off the set of Me and My Girl. To be honest, I feel like a bit of Any Old Iron coming on here, but me singing, now that would be criminal.
Details of all of these items can be found on CFAX on page 621. Or you can call officers direct here in the studio, or locally on 0181 246 0034. That's 0181 246 0034.
Well, that's all for this month. Here's the number for any of our cases, and you'll find local numbers on CFAX on page 621. Note that's a change of number, page 621. And at long last, we're on the internet. Our address for electronic mail is easy to remember. It's Crimewatch UK at BBC, or more precisely, CWUK at bbc.co.uk. And if you've any information on any crime that we haven't covered, then do try Crime Stoppers. They're on 0800 555 111. That's 0800 555 111. We'll be back with Crimewatch Update at 11:40. Please join us then. I hope we'll have